All right, yo, what's up, everybody? Welcome into another edition of Executive Decisions, August 18th. Coming at you on a good old Friday. I want to thank everybody who's been subscribing and supporting. You know, we got you back, bringing that hot content every day. Don't forget, fantasy footballers, hit that description box and get ready to play some fantasy football with the Fantasy Football World Championship crew this upcoming NFL season. Got a lot I want to get into today. Obviously, still got the big story out there with Shannon Sharpe joining First Take and Stephen A. Smith. Want to touch on that, give you some of my thoughts on that. Want to run down what the First Take crew and the Undisputed crew going to look like. Want to talk about James Harden. James Harden went out to China, showed his ass. Now he's back in the States, maybe singing a little bit of a different song. Also, the NBA released their full schedule. I want to look at a couple of early game dates and also talk about the return of Ja Morant when that game is, let you know what's up with that. And then talk a little football right quick. Got some camp fights in Dallas and out there with Coach Prime and the Colorado Buffaloes. And the New York Jets obviously have been the talk of the season. So go ahead right now. You see that subscribe button. Go ahead and hit that joint. Let's get rocking and rolling. Hop on into it right here. And let's start. Shannon Sharpe will be joining Stephen A. Smith on First Take this upcoming year. Reported by Andrew Marchand that of the New York Post that Sharpe will be doing Monday and Tuesday with Stephen A. Smith. Those are obviously 2 days following the big Sunday of football and the big Saturday of college football, and then you get Tuesday after a Monday night. Definitely the best of what they're going to have on First Take this year will be on Monday and Tuesday when Shannon and Stephen A. link up. Now, Stephen A. went live on his pod last night, the Stephen A. Smith show, and he said that it was not finalized, but the New York Post and Marchand is not going to put that information out. And for Smith to say it's not finalized, he's just trying to run some of his numbers up last night, obviously. He's got the number one story in sports and entertainment right now with that duo coming together to kind of control daytime television from a male perspective. Obviously, those shows get a lot of female fans as well. The kind of shows that just be on in the house, hot takes, they trend on Twitter and what have you, kind of these shows that make news. So when you look at the First Take lineup, Stephen A., Shannon, Chris Russo, who is fantastic. Then you get guys like Ryan Clark. He's cool. Harry Douglas has been very good. I'm very happy with how Harry Douglas' career is working out. He's been very good. Your man Swagoo also in the mix. And then when you look over at the Undisputed side, you see Skip. He'll come out with, I'm hearing it's going to be Micheal Irvin. That will be great, Skip and Micheal Irvin. But you got two diehard Dallas guys right there. If you was to get Micheal Irvin over there with Shannon and Stephen A., that would be absolutely, your TV would explode. I love the Rachel Nichols edition. You know what I'm saying? If I love the Rachel Nichols edition, it gives you strong NBA. Nichols is not great with football. I don't even really think she likes the sport that much. But her takes make news and the controversial. Obviously, Richard Sherman is going to be the main guy. He goes back and forth with football on to be Richard Sherman along with Irvin. And then if they bring Keyshawn Johnson in the mix as well. And then obviously, Lil Wayne addition to the crew is critical as well. Now, people will say, well, Lil Wayne not really a big deal, but Lil Wayne is a good sports fan. He talks knowledgeable. Like I said, don't remember Lil Wayne as, this leaned out Lil Wayne. Lil Wayne is actually seemed like his mind is together right now and he's doing his thing. So I think Lil Wayne is going to be interesting. Listen, we didn't think Cam and Mace was going to take over sports talk. So why not Lil Weezy F Baby? So that's what it shakes out to right now. And then these two shows, 10 a.m., at least with First Take. Then First Take will lead right into Pat McAfee. I'm a Pat McAfee fan. Don't really watch the show much unless it's a guest on that I'm looking forward to seeing. But outside of that, that's what your football season daytime television lineup's going to look like. And obviously that'll carry on to basketball season. Then next year, this time, they'll do it all again with the shakeup. But Shannon did not become a member of ESPN. He's not an ESPN employee. He's going in as a contractor. So he'll get an appearance free for Monday and Tuesday. But you can expect him to do stuff outside as well. And I'm quite sure Club Shay Shay will probably end up with a FanDuel sponsorship. So Shannon Sharpe will have a pod out there, and he'll have his mainstream stuff with First Take as well. So That's pretty good. Now, to me, I think you get lost in the shuffle here is the fact that my man Shady McCoy, who I'm a big fan of, is not coming out of this with a promotion, at least like it doesn't seem like. Or over at FS1, I think he should have been elevated to be a guy that's up there going against Skip. If not, why not first take Scoop Shady up? Him and Joy Taylor are great on that show, Speak. Everybody else on that show sucks, particularly Emmanuel Acho. I'm not a fan of his at all. Just not a talented guy. He seems to be real phony. Not a big Emmanuel Acho guy, you know what I'm saying? So I wish Shady could get away from that crew. And I think Joy Taylor, as far as her presence on the show, I think she's fantastic. I think she does a better job than Molly. I think nobody plays that position better than her. She's even better than what I seen from Carrie Champion back in the day. So I'm a big fan of Miss Joy Taylor. I think she gets the job done. But that's what it looks like. I just wish Shady had a better spot, not sitting up there with TJ Husmanzada and Emmanuel Acho, you know what I'm saying? But that's what it's going to look like from a mainstream media narrative coming into the football season. So it looks like First Take got the big prize by getting Shannon Sharpe, the team up with Stephen A. Smith. And they'll have plenty of stuff to talk about, like James Harden and the Philadelphia 76ers. You know, last year when Harden opted out, I thought to myself, why would he opt out? Ain't nobody else going to give him that money. Then I saw where he took up the pay cut and they went and they brought in PJ Tucker. And I'm like, okay, they're going to make a run for it. So then this season, when he opts in, I'm like, well, they're going to have to trade him. You know what I'm saying? Because James Harden is not a $45 million a year player anymore. You know what I'm saying? Like James Harden may believe he's a $45 million a year player, but no one else does. You see what I'm saying? Like the athlete is always the last person to know that their value is going down. But let me not just say the athlete, really like human beings in general. You know what I'm saying? Like, Dad, you can't drive no more. Dad still thinks he can drive. You know what I'm saying? You know what I mean? Mom, you can't go to the grocery store by yourself. Or Mom, you can't cook by yourself. Mom still thinks she got it in the kitchen. You know what I'm saying? But when it comes to James Harden, you're not the dynamic offensive player you once were anymore. And yes, he was a dynamic offensive player in his heyday. Like, Harden is one of the best offensive players this game has ever seen. He's the best offensive player of this generation. And I include Steph in that. You know, Harden is right there. He's fourth on that all-time three-point list. You talk about Ray Allen. You talk about Reggie Miller. You talk about Steph Curry. James Harden is on that list too. He's number 4. So let's not act like Harden wasn't the man. But that's not what this is about. This is about what's currently going on. Just a bad idea to promise the player anything, right? Because now 2 things can be right. Yes, Harden is a depreciating asset. But you also promised him that you was going to make him right after what he did last year. Or send him to a situation where he could possibly get right. But now, here's what it boils down to. New situation, Nick Nurse coming in, trying to take this team to the next step. And I think Nurse is a great head coach, and I feel like he can do it. But the problem is, if you get off on a bad foot in training camp and James Harden show up with that fat suit, he can burn this joint down. Let me tell you something. James Harden will tear this joint up, and you don't want that to happen. See my man Joel Troll Embiid got involved, taking Philadelphia 76er out of his Twitter bio, kind of poking fun at the situation. Nick Nurse, you got to make sure Joel Embiid gets his conditioning together so he's healthy down the back stretch of the season when you're trying to win a championship. That's the next process in the Joel Embiid thing, right? So, like, Doc Rivers got him to be a MVP level player. Doc Rivers got him to be a guy that plays through injuries. Now you got to get him to be a guy to be a championship level player who can have the right condition and have his body in the correct shape to make a deep playoff run. But back to Harden, this is what you're going to have to do. You're going to have to trade him, right? But here's the problem. You already told the whole league he's a depreciating asset. He already told the whole league he don't have nothing to do with the organization. So why am I going to pay top dollar for a depreciating asset. That's the same thing the 76ers is saying. But now Harden, by running his mouth, going out to China and acting crazy, he brings this to the forefront. Real nasty, real tricky situation right here. So now he goes out to China, he calls Daryl Morey a liar, breaks the internet. I saw one podcast on my man on Bill Simmons, The Ringer. Them dudes said they thought it was AI. They thought it was an artificial intelligence James Harden out there in China. That's how fool he looked going out there calling this man a liar. Now, with that being said, he comes back to Houston. He might have had a table, whatever the case may be. He comes back to Houston. A reporter out there in Houston catches up with him in a charity event, and he says, is this situation too bad to be repaired? And Harden said, yeah, I think so. You see, I think so. Because money can fix everything. Because if Josh Harris decides to go in his pocket and say, you know what, don't be a liar, go ahead and pay the man, he'll be right there playing with the Philadelphia 76ers and Nick Nurse and Joel Embiid and trying to win a championship, and everybody will be singing Kumbaya together. You know, Harden was kind of the one that started this whole thing anyway. You talk about loyalty, Harden. Wasn't you the one kind of hinting towards returning to Houston all season long? If you was fine in Philadelphia, you wouldn't have brought that up. Yeah, you led the league in assists last year. You don't want to go back to being a James Harden and lead the league in scoring, because that's only going to work in Houston. Because any place that got ideas of winning the championship, you're not going to be the main option no more. They're going to have to trade him for pennies on the dollar, and that's just the bottom line. That's what they have to do, because I don't think they're going to give him that money, because would you tie up your salary cap for an aging James Harden? Not good basketball sense, if you ask me. Now, getting on to some other stories in the NBA. NBA released their schedule earlier this week, and I want to go through some of the key early game matchups, talk about a couple teams right quick. And let's start with opening night. Los Angeles Lakers travel to Denver to take on the Nuggets. It'll be rain night for the Denver Nuggets. They'll celebrate their championship. LeBron James will enter year 21 of his NBA career. That's how the season starts. LBJ going up against the champs. It seems like that's how a lot of season starts, with LeBron James going up against the champions. And then in the nightcap, this is truly going to be pretty cool. The nightcap on October 24th, open night of the season. The Phoenix Suns travel to the Golden State Warriors to play them at the Chase Center. It will be Kevin Durant's first time not only going up against the Golden State Warriors since he left, but playing in the Chase Center. You know what I mean? Durant has been injured, or different things have happened to where this reunion is not taking place yet. Like Steve Kerr said, like, we produced the video for him, the tribute video, like 3 years ago. We hadn't had a chance to use it yet. Well, we'll get a chance to see it on opening night this year. Phoenix Suns, along with the addition of Bradley Beal, head into Golden State to take on the Warriors, who really only thing they did this year was get rid of Jordan Poole and re-up with Draymond Green. They show where their true loyalty lies with that championship core. Second night of the season, New Orleans Pelicans, Memphis Grizzlies, division rivals. 2019 draft, Ja Morant and Zion Williamson. Ja will not be there for this game. Will Zion be there for this game? He don't be there for a lot of other games. But will he be there for this one? Do we think Zion actually starts the season and is out there in this primetime matchup? Ja won't be there. Interesting to see if Zion will be there. Like, I've been very tough on Zion, but I love Zion. The truth of the matter is this. You better get on that court this year, fella. You done all that tricking, you know what I'm saying? It's time to start showing up on the basketball court too. Third night of the season. Oh, no, well, it's also the second night of the season, October 25th. We get Dallas Mavericks and the Spurs. They're going to put this dude, Victor Wembanyama, on TV to the point where you're going to get disgusted of it. I hope Son is not really just like more than just a French Bobo. Like, I think there's high bust potential for Wembanyama, but he's with the Spurs, and I think the organization will handle it well. Curious to see, but we're going to see a lot of it because they're going to be on TV a lot, and they could be a team in the lottery again next year, but we'll just be looking at this 7'5" dude. Third night of the season, Suns and Lakers, their little rivalry gets renewed. That game will be at the Staples Center or the Crypto.com arena. So shout out to that one right there, Suns and Lakers. Then we get Heat and Celtics, rematch of a very entertaining conference finals the past 2 years. Well, 3 out the last 4 years, really. So we get Heat and Celtics on October 27th. That game will be in Boston. Interested to see if Damian Lillard will be a member of the Miami Heat. And then the nightcap that night, Warriors versus Kings. Interesting playoff series from last year. They get a chance to go ahead and run it back. The Golden State Warriors go up the coast a little bit to take on the Sacramento Kings. That should be a goodie right there. That was a fantastic playoff series. Interesting to see if the Kings continue in their development. October 28th, Nick Nurse takes the Philadelphia 76ers to the Toronto Raptors. Nurse, obviously, championship-winning head coach with the Toronto Raptors. Now he brings his Philadelphia 76er bunch above the border. October 30th, Heat versus Bucks. The defending conference champion versus Giannis and the team that wants to be the conference champions this year. Now, Milwaukee Bucks. Giannis, it's not a failure. Oh, yeah, Giannis, it was a failure. Last year was a failure. You go out there, you hire Adrian Griffin, you get a new head coach. We need a deep playoff run from the Bucks, right? No more fooling around. If everybody's healthy, even if Middleton's not healthy, you got to figure it out. A deep playoff run for Giannis and the Bucks. I would actually wager that the Milwaukee Bucks win the in-season tournament this year. I think the Bucks are going to try to get it cracking right off the rip. So a healthy Giannis comes back like the Bucks. We'll see what happens come the postseason, but no more failures. Yes, that was a failure. And then on December 19th, we get the return of Ja Morant. Memphis Grizzlies go to New Orleans to take on the Pelicans. Obviously, a nationally televised contest. Hopefully, Zion is there because I know Morant will be there. That's the night he comes back off suspension. So expect a big night right there from Ja Morant. Expect a big season from Ja. I think the kid's going to come out this year with a chip on his shoulder. Listen, he has made some mistakes. He's got to own up to it. But I really think we were over the top with some of the criticism. I really think the punishment is over the top. So I think you get to see Morant come out with a chip on his shoulder. I think he's going to have a fabulous season this year. From the time he steps on the court to the time the playoffs or whatever, how far the Memphis Grizzlies take it, which I think they can take it to the Western Conference Finals at least. I think you're going to see a special season from Ja. So look for a big year for Ja Morant. And it all starts on December the 19th in New Orleans. And then on December 22nd, the Golden State Warriors host the Washington Wizards at the Chase Center. Jordan Poole makes his Chase Center return, and hopefully him and his pops don't get beat up by the goons out there at the Chase Center. Nah, I kid. But those are some interesting, intriguing matchups coming up on this year's NBA schedule. So definitely looking forward to this upcoming NBA season. Obviously, we'll start to dig into some win totals and stuff once we get a little bit closer to tip-off of the upcoming season. Now, we are getting closer to kickoff of the upcoming football season. And obviously, big talk this football season has been on the New York Jets coming in here with Aaron Rodgers. So far, that seems like that's off to a good start. And then obviously, you know, they got the Hard Knocks thing going down. So you see a lot of good things coming out of Hard Knocks and New York Jet camp. That AFC East is a hell of a division. But I think the New York Jets are going to be tough. I like the Jets at plus 250 to win that division. I think that they are going to have enough, particularly on that defensive side of the ball. And I think that you're going to see Buffalo come in a little bit. But that division is going to be nip and tuck all the way. New England is plus 750 to win the division. I don't think that's a bad bet either. But they did bring in Dalivn Cook, right? And everybody's all hyped up and happy. But I want to warn Jet fan and people in general, you know, Dalivn Cook is going through a situation right now. He has been the subject to a personal civil injury lawsuit filed by his ex-girlfriend, Graceland Trimble. I'm reading this right now out of amny.com. In November 21, the former Vikings countersued his accuser for defamation. Both lawsuits have been in limbo since then, with a court date set for 2024. So basically, they countersued each other. Her civil injury lawsuit, he has sued for defamation. Both lawsuits in limbo. Court date set for 2024. Now, here's the deal. This is the wrinkle as written by AM New York. This case, the latest wrinkle to this case has been his lawyers offered his accuser $1 million to send a letter to the NFL relieving Mr. Cook of any wrongdoing. That right there is critical, because that right there sounds like some hush money piece. And mind you, Roger Goodell likes to be judge, jury, and executioner. It does not have to be any charges filed or anything for him to go in there, use the personal conduct policy to go ahead and give Cook a suspension. Now, the Jets don't seem to be worried about that. They said that they have vetted the situation properly. You don't think this is something that's going to come up until 2024, but you never know with this guy, Roger Goodell. We saw what he did to Emmitt Smith a number of years, not Emmitt Smith, excuse me, Ezekiel Elliott a number of years ago. That's problematic. Like when nothing is wrong, your own investigator said no suspension, and you still go and do that. So you never know with Goodell. Something to keep an ear and an eye on as it comes to this situation right here. Now, Hard Knocks. The Jets co-practice, dual practice with the Carolina Panthers. That Jet defensive line is the real deal, my man. Let me tell you something. And not only am I impressed with the kid, the edge rusher, the rookie edge rusher, Will McDonald out of Iowa. He looks fantastic. He looks like he can't be blocked. But then Quinnen Williams, big boy, 3 technique in the middle with the swift feet, bouncing around, racking up 11 sacks. 30-1 right now to win Defensive Player of the Year, Quinnen Williams. I would go ahead and drop a low how you doing on that. I think big boy right here might have a chance to do something special, have a special season. Normally when a 3 technique get rolling, like how Chris Jones did last year, or like how we've seen Aaron Donald do, they can be very hard to stop. So I look at Quinnen Williams as a great dynamic 3 technique, and 30-1 odds. Yeah, I'm going to sprinkle a little how you doing, as my boy Johnny VTV say, on that number right there. All right, finally, before we get up out of here, camp fights. All the rage right now. And obviously it's hot. Practicing against your teammate day after day. Things getting chippy. Hits after the ball and stuff like that. We saw Micah Parsons and the Dallas Cowboy get into some training camp scuffles. Parsons was actually throwing punches. I wouldn't suggest that. You know what I'm saying? Dallas Cowboys need Micah Parsons to not have a broken hand, right? But things get chippy, offense, defense, both sides of the ball, and cats get to tussling. It happens this time of year. Micah Parsons says that's how you know you got a championship team. I wouldn't go that far. The quarterback not turning the ball over would make me think that there's a championship team out there. But that's a topic for another discussion. So Dallas is fighting, but then interestingly, everybody's favorite college football team, the Colorado Buffaloes, also have gotten to fighting in some of their fall camps, right? And you know my man, Coach Prime, came prepared. So they had a situation where the offense and defense got to scuffling over a running back getting thrown to the ground in the end zone. So some of the offensive players did not join in the festivities, and Coach Prime ripped them a new one. That's not how we do it, he said. Where they do that at? If one fight, we all fight. That's what I'm talking about. You see what I'm saying? That's the spirit of football. That's the spirit of masculinity, really, that's been lost. People are going to say, oh, well, Coach Prime shouldn't act like that. That's outdated. There's nothing wrong with it. If it's outdated, it needs to be brought back. Training camp is for fights. And if one fight, we all fight. You got brothers and sisters. You know you don't leave them out there. You go back and you fight. Y'all can fight each other all you want in the house. But when you get in that street, you better have each other's back. And I'm telling you, I like what Coach Prime is doing. Now, is it going to transform into wins in year ones? That's yet to be determined. But I'm taking over 3.5 on the Colorado Buffaloes. Thank everybody for checking in. If you watched to the end, God bless your soul. But make sure you hit that subscribe button. You know what I'm saying? because that's how the fantasy executive just get bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger. Everybody's already done that. Thank you. Appreciate the support. To everybody that hasn't, hope you enjoyed yourself. 25 minutes, full joint. Hit the subscribe button. Show some love.